Stuka Joe here. Don't adjust your computer screen. You're looking at a blank screen that is completely intended. The title of this video is The Case for Sequence of Play Cards. Sequence of play cards. When have you heard those words together? Sequence of play next to cards. Probably never. Now, I'm going to make the case for sequence of play cards. I'm not the inventor of sequence of play cards. I actually Googled the term, and there is a gentleman that made sequence of play cards for Hornet Leader in 2012, and his name is Rod Aguirre, and you can find those at Board Game Geek. I've been using sequence of play cards for various games. I did a playthrough of the Crete 1941 Operation Mercury game, magazine game published by Decision Games, and I used sequence of play cards, and they actually helped me enjoy the game. That's a game with 19 distinct phases, no player aid cards because it's a magazine game. And if I wouldn't have had those sequence of play cards, I would have to been diving into that rule book constantly, and the enjoyment of the game would not have been the same. So I highly recommend playing with sequence of play cards in those particular circumstances. Now, after that game, I've been making sequence of play cards for other games. I made sequence of play cards for this game, Guerra Muerte. This is a magazine game, this time by Against the Odds magazine. And became interested in this game because of its topic. I've been listening to the podcast series Revolutions, and the series is currently in the revolutions of Latin America, and about Simón Bolívar and how he liberated, parts of South America. Very interesting history that you seldom see in war games. I like magazine games because they usually bring games other than games about the Battle of the Bulge, D-Day, or Barbarossa. So this is a topic that interested me. I read the rules. The turn structure doesn't have a lot of phases. I believe it's like 9 phases and some segments within some of the phases, but it didn't have a player aid card, so I decided to make sequence of play cards for the game. And the way these work are is very simple. Each card has a number. That is the order in which it occurs, the phase or the segment occurs during the turn. And what we do is that we have to arrange the cards in a certain order. We start by placing the lower numbered cards in the bottom of the pile. And then we flip the whole pile, and then we're set to go. For example, this particular card, the first card is the events phase, and you have below its title that it starts in turn 9. So if we're in turn 1, we skip it. But if not, we have also the table in which we have to roll a die starting in turn 9. So it's a good opportunity to place tables and charts in the card. It saves you a trip to a player aid card, saves you time and effort. And continuing with the second phase, the uprising phase, there's a table there with the die roll modifiers. Then we have the reorganization and reinforcement phase, and within that phase, there's a step there, a segment. The players collect resource points, and here you have a summary of the rules. Then we have another step within that phase, that militia units may be used to replenish regular units. And we have then another step where we create and recreate units, and we have a table there with the cost in resource points. Then we have another segment within the same phase, reinforcements enter the game. So we can break down the phase in several segments and make a card for each one of the segments. Then we have the reorganization step within the same phase. And then we go to another phase, the Patriot Operation phase, and notice that we use a different color to denote one side, the Patriot side, and we have an activation table there, which saves us another trip to a player aid card. And then we have the Royalist Operations phase, with the same table there. And finally, we have the last phase, which is the end of turn phase. So we go through that, and then to start the next turn, it's very simple. We just flip the deck over and we're ready to begin. And note that this deck of cards has a much smaller footprint than a regular player aid card. And here I'm showing you a copy of the player aid card for that game. And of course, not all the tables are here in the cards. For example, the range combat table is still in the player aid card. But if we wouldn't have this sequence of play deck and it would be all in a player aid card, this is what we would have to consult. So this can't go on the map. This can. After doing cards for Guerra Muerte, I picked up this game from Legion Wargames, and it's Red vs. Reverse. And it's a game about the Battle of Colenso in the Second Boer War, published by Legion Wargames. This is a solitaire war game. And as a solitaire war game, it has an artificial intelligence system that controls the movements and the decisions that the Boers make in the game. Therefore, the game has numerous phases. Not going to do an unboxing, but just to give you an idea of the number of phases and segments in the game, this is part of the map. I'm showing you just, a third or fourth of the map. The sequence of play chart is printed on the map. And it starts with the orders phase. And you can see, and I'm going to scroll it for you. You see there's the British event segment, British command point segment, British send order segment, British receive order segment, British emergency withdrawal segment, and then you go to the shell fire phase, and then you have more phases, then to the movement phase, more segments, and you keep on going, and you keep on going to the rifle fire phase, status phase, and you end with the victory segment. So you have a lot of segments that make up various phases in the game. And look at all the space this covers on the map. Okay? And this is a very nice looking map. I decided to make a deck of sequence of play cards for Red vs. Reverse. So, for example, if we're looking at the first couple of segments, see the orders phase, if we flip the card here, we see that we have the information in one card here. For the British event segment, if you don't have the cards, you have to interrupt what you're doing and locate the line where you were before to see what do you have to do next. So when you're using a player aid card, and this is the equivalent, it takes some time to locate the line or the space where you are. With sequence of play cards, the only thing you have to do actually is just flip the card and you are in this phase. And if you have to do anything on the map, you know that you are in this phase. So the cards serve also as a reminder of where you are specifically. And we have the cards color coded by the British are in red and actions that the British have to do. We have if-then statements. If there is something that may happen, you see it is highlighted in yellow. And if that condition applies, then you keep on reading. See, here you have various if-then statements. It's denoted by the yellow highlighting. We have more segments that the British perform. See, now we have a segment in brown. The Boers performed this segment. Another Boer segment, and here we have a table. If you wouldn't have this card, you would have to pull out the player aid card and roll on that table over there. So this saves you time. Here we go back to another British segment. We're in card 9, another British segment. And you see, it's not a lot of reading, and after a while you become familiar, so you move a lot quicker. Another Boer segment, Boer event segment, and here we have Boer movement segment, and these are the rules to move the Boers summarized. British rifle fire segment, 13, 14 British recovery segment, 15 Boer rifle fire segment, 16 Boer shaken segment, and 17 the victory segment. And we have some if-then situations. So it tells us here to move the game turn marker, place the Boer guns misfire or British gun ammo shortage marker in the shell firebox, and then we go to the British event segment. How do we do that? We just flip the cards and we start again. So it's very simple. They're always in order. These are cards that are not meant to be shuffled. So this is the sequence of play cards I made for Red vs. Reverse. I still haven't played this game, but I'm looking forward to do so. It's a solitaire game, and I'm very interested in learning about this campaign. And I'm sure that it's going to be a lot easier to play with the cards than without them. If you've been following my channel for the last couple of years, you probably know that about 2 years ago, I did playthrough videos on this game, which is one of my favorite games, RAF, The Battle of Britain 1940, published by Decision Games. The original version was published by West End Games, and this is designed by John Butterfield. And there's 3 games in this package, a 2-player version, and there are 2 solitaire versions. The Lion version is the one where you control the Royal Air Force, and the Eagle version, you control the Luftwaffe. I played with the Lion version, and what I used to play the game, which I consulted frequently, was this, the RAF Lion flipbook. And this is a resource that is available in Board Game Geek, which summarizes the rules for you and includes tables that are pertinent for each one of the phases in the game, and it is organized in the way the phases occur during the game. So this is a very helpful tool, and it has some pages, but it's a flip book, and it has about, I guess, 12 to 15 pages. So each time that I went from one phase to another, I would practically pull this, consult it, and it was really helpful to avoid, playing out of sequence and to keep within the boundaries of the rules. Now, if I wouldn't have had the flip book, I would have had to use this sequence of play outline that comes with the game. And you can see there that the only information you have is the name of the phase, the name of the segment, and you have some scant information in italics there. Not a lot of information. I mean, the flip book guides you through the game. This obviously is just an 11 by 8.5 inch player aid, and you see the information that is here. There's a lot of phases and a lot of segments, but very little information for each. So I recently made sequence of play cards for both versions, and they are available at BGG at the file section for RAF. Here there's a printout of the Lion version. We see the backs of the cards tell you by color coding the phase in which the card pertains to. Here we see the daily planning phase, which is the first phase of the turn. And in the first phase, we have the first card, the first step, German night raid planning. And this is optional. So if you're not using the night rules, you just skip this card. Then you go to the German strategy draw card, and you see a table there. So that saves you a trip to a player aid card. Raid target selection is the next segment, bomber assignment, and we have another table there. German fighter assignment. Then another segment of the night rules, night patrol assignment. And continuing with these cards, we still are in the initial phase, repair, and you skip this one in the first day. Then the time of day and weather forecast. We have the weather table there. And then we go to the raids phase. And the backs of the cards, that is red, as well as here. And we have more phases, segments of that phase: British detection, raid, rendezvous check, British raid response, and you have the rules summarized there. So this is a happy medium between the scant sequence of play outline and the wordy flip book. And the idea is for the information and bullets to prompt the player to know what to do. Here you have various if-then statements as to hunter interception, raid approach event, then the hunter attack, it tells you how to perform that, then the raid target event, then we have squadron interception, and there's a little table there that says the priority in which the group are attacked, and squadron attack, and we're still in the raid phase. Last card there was step 18. Then step 19 is bombardment, the German recovery, step 20, then the clock check. And you see here that depending on the if statement and the condition, you either go to a different card in the deck. So if the first condition applies, you go to step number 9, so you go back. And for example, if the last condition applies, then you go to step 25 and you skip 4 of these cards. Here we have squadron turnaround. Now we're in the purple phase, and that is the airfield operation phase. German fighter turnaround, German fighter assignment, that's step 24. And we continue now with step 25. That's another optional night raid step. And this version that I'm showing you is not the latest one that is in Board Game Geek, because I know this card has information printed on it. I just wanted to show you how it comes out when you print it on paper or cardstock. Squadron and group reset, day advance, day event, update, replacement points, light loss replacement, and then we have the last 3 segments of the turn: heavy loss replacement, reinforcement entry, and the card shuffle check. That's the last card of the deck. So if you're in the last bullet, you return to step 1, so you just flip the entire deck over and you're ready to go. This is a reference card that is not used during play, just to tell you what the information or how the information is organized in these cards. So this is the Eagle version, which is available, and also available for download is the Lion version. And this is the Lion version. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's basically the same organization, color-coded by phase. Each card represents a segment. And the idea here is that you spend more time playing the game, less time looking up rules and looking up for stuff, because if you don't have these cards, your eyes will be searching for a line here. And that obviously takes away from the gaming experience. So they are ready, they're available. I would love to hear your comments as to the cards for those RAF veterans. Is it helpful? Can they be improved in any way? Let me know. I'm all ears. I can do newer versions and I will keep them updated. So this is the first video in the series of the case for sequence of play cards. And you will keep hearing from me more about this subject. I'm a believer that it is something that is very useful to keep us within the boundaries of the game without wasting time. And let's face it, most gamers, if not all, we all like cards. And this is just an excuse for having more cards. So this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.